Saved me hours and hours and hours and hours and days and days and days of time. Let's have a look at this question. What could be the issue when you happen to find that there's an incomplete reference? Could it be that the used software may have not picked it up, or the site reference we're exporting? Okay, yes, absolutely. So again, let's talk about Google Scholar just now. But when you find an incomplete reference, that's because you have incomplete metadata. Now, this is very important actually, because you don't actually have to have the PDF document in your source library to be able to cite it. Okay? You can cite the metadata of the source, right? But you have to have the PDF document to know what's in it. Okay? As a researcher, you have to have read it. You have to have scanned it. And I talk about, engaging with sources in another course. But technically, to cite it and reference it in your document, you just need the metadata. And when your metadata is incomplete, which is what your question is talking about, that could be because the export or the import was incomplete, or whatever happened when you were loading that reference into your EndNote library didn't pick up all the metadata. And again, let's come back to Google Scholar. I'll show you how to sort that out just now. And in EndNote, where you see that there is something incomplete, or a supervisor picks it out, or an examiner picks it out, and you've got to go back and fix it up, you must then just go back into your EndNote library, click on that reference, and I do show this in the course, and then for that reference, you'll see the metadata and you'll be able to edit it and fix it. But again, the more you do manually, the more you introduce the opportunity for errors, okay, and extra work that you had to do. Okay, so good. I think we've covered a lot of those topics. Let's just see then what's next. Okay, now this is the view of EndNote. So now again, this is in EndNote, not in Word, where you're writing your document. This is in EndNote, where you're managing your references. And if you look on the left-hand side there, you'll see that little attachment icon there. That's where I have the PDF attached to the record of the source. Okay. And me engaging with the content of that source is obviously part of my research. I need to go and read it, and is it useful? Is it relevant? What do they say on page 6, or what is the image on page 20? Whatever. I need to know what's in that thing. But that's separate to the metadata. And you can see the view that I always use in EndNote is both of those. So the bottom left is the metadata. That's the only information that goes into your document. The content of the document is what you can view in EndNote if you've attached it to the record there. But that may not be the case always. You may have the PDF somewhere else. Look, obviously it's convenient to attach it in there. But for whatever reason, you may not have the PDF. You may just know that you need to reference that for another reason without having access to the content, for example. And that's fine. You can go in and create a record in EndNote. And even what I show you now with Google Scholar will create the metadata record. And very often what I would do with Google Scholar was to go and create it from Google Scholar and then actually attach the PDF to the record of the reference that I'd created from Google Scholar. So I actually did it the other way around. And I think we always have this mindset that we load the PDF and then it automatically brings the information in. I actually came the other direction. I always used to go Google Scholar, create the record in EndNote, and then attach the PDF. And often I would have two records in EndNote. I would have the one that I created with my Google Scholar hack, and then I would have imported the PDF. And then I just need to attach the PDF to the record that has the right metadata that I want to use where I'm citing. On the left, you'll see a whole bunch of folder structure that I had set up in EndNote, but that didn't really help me cite any better. And you can use it. It's just a way of grouping references. You can set up smart folders and it'll automatically pick up all references with a certain rule or a certain author or whatever rule set it is that you create. Or let's say you're working on multiple projects at the same time. You're collaborating on a journal article and you're doing a final report. You may want to organize your references using those folders on the left-hand side there. But for the discipline and the accuracy of academic referencing, it's pretty much irrelevant. Just a EndNote version of the folders that you'd have on your hard drive. And many of you on this call may have even better experience of using that folder structure in EndNote. But my advice to you would be, if you're just getting to a minimum level of competency around referencing, don't waste too much time on that folder structure on the left. You might use that when at more sort of advanced levels, doing more sort of projects in parallel.